Hello friends and welcome to a new episode. Today we are going to discuss about the Champions League match day 2. So first and foremost we discussed with you about the match day 1 and that was all about the setting up of the teams and the groups. But the match day 2, the things are getting very exciting now. Some teams are lurking behind, some are just motoring along really nicely. First and foremost, the first game of match day 2 was between Plajan Victoria and Inter Milan. Inter Milan, mind you, has lost its first game against Bayern Munich. This is the group of death. Group of death includes Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Inter Milan, and Plajan Victoria. Plajan Victoria may have their work cut out. They have three power horses in their group. But back to the match, Inter Milan lost their first game, that too at home, which was a huge disadvantage to them, and they would have a big say in the teams that are going to go through. Okay, so what turned out was Inter Milan ran away 2-0 victors, and this was a very, very important victory for them as this was a game that they were supposed to win home and away. So the away game is removed from their path. Now the next game they have to win against Plajan will be at home, but before that they have to face the mighty Barcelona. The Catalan club have very big say in this group, and they would be thinking that they might even top the group. But let's see what happened this week against Bayern Munich. All right, so the second game was between Sporting Lisbon and Tottenham Hotspur. Hotspur have been in very good form in the Premier League, and Antonio Conte would be wishing that they top this group. They have a good chance of topping this group, mind you. They are not very strong teams in this group, and let me remind you, it was Frankfurt, the Europa League champions, who were top seeded in this group. So Spurs would be thinking that they are going to win this group. But what happened was not so good for them. They lost 2-0, and that too in the dying moments. They conceded 2 goals. Before it was pretty rosy. They would have taken the 0-0 result from Sporting Lisbon to their home. But what happened in the end was they conceded 2 late goals and they lost 2-0, and now they have their work cut out, especially when what happened between Leverkusen and Frankfurt. Okay, the next game was Liverpool versus Ajax. Ajax, let me remind you, they're very important players being sold to other big clubs, but they started the season of Champions League on a bang. They won their first game and they were on a very high. And when they faced Liverpool at Anfield, it was 1-1 until the end. Very closely, they would have taken this 1-1 result, but what happened was they conceded very late from a corner, and Matip was their hero for Liverpool, and it was a very important win for Liverpool. Had they conceded a draw here or just 1 point or lost this game, probably they would have taken a very early flight back to England. Already they were in Anfield, and remember what Jurgen Klopp said at the end of the final last season. It's Istanbul, book your tickets. So he thinks that Liverpool has a good chance of going to the final yet again. He's very confident, he should be. But looking at their performance, they're not performing really well, and they are in the group with Napoli as well. So this group is very tough group, and it was a very important win for Liverpool. Next was Porto versus Club Brugge, and this was a massive surprise, at least for me. It was Porto at home, but they lost 4-0, and Club Brugge is flying very high. They have already won their previous game and they won again, and with a big margin. They are topping the group, let me tell you, and probably we are going to see a surprise in this group. Club Brugge has a good chance of qualifying from here on. They have 6 points on the table. So the next game, it was Leverkusen versus ATM, Atletico de Madrid, and Simeone's side is having a very disappointing season. They were lucky to win at Porto at the dying moments. Griezmann scored. It was 2-1. But they were not so lucky here, and Leverkusen have run out 2-0 winners. Next game was Bayern Munich versus Barcelona. Yeah, this is that same group of death I'm talking about. The Plajan and Inter Milan included. And this was a bit of surprise, I would say, that Bayern Munich won 2-0 at Allianz Arena. That was because if you listen to Xavi, the coach of Barcelona, the Catalan club, he thought that they were very unlucky and they should have won this game. I agree with this. I was watching this game. This was a premier game of the day. It was all Barcelona in the first half. It was all about Lewandowski, and he would be having nightmares. The chances he missed, he would have scored them in his sleep. But this is Champions League, and once again I will quote Xavi. He stated that if you forgive in the Champions League, that is going to bite them. And that is what happened. Bayern Munich are too good to play both halves very, very poorly. So they came out flying in the second half, and that is what they did. And they scored twice. Hernandez from a corner, and then it was Sane. He scored the second with a good individual performance, and it was Musiala, none other than Musiala, who assisted him. So Leroy Sane is having a fantastic Champions League. Even in the first day, match day, he scored a brilliant solo goal, and even in the second, he had a good finishing. He is having a good scoring boost on his foot. Then it was Marseille versus Frankfurt. So Frankfurt has won this game 1-0 away at Marseille. So this is looking pretty exciting. Frankfurt, Spurs, and Sporting and Marseille. This was a group, and this was a pretty competitive group, I would say. It is not so easy to decide which two teams are going to go through. My pick were Frankfurt and Spurs, but Spurs losing at Sporting at Sporting's home ground could create some problems, and it is going to be a very exciting game. What is going to happen at Frankfurt versus Sporting and Spurs? So this group is pretty open. It is by no means settled. Then it was AC Milan, the Italian champions, against Dinamo Zagreb. Dinamo Zagreb came down on earth, and they were brought down to earth by AC Milan. They ran out 3-1 winners, and it was a pretty comfortable game for AC Milan. Out of the last 25 penalty kicks, Giroud has scored 24 of them. So he only missed one, and he was not going to miss this in this game as well. He scored the first goal, and then it was all about Milan running away, and they settled the game after they scored the third goal in the dying moments in the last 10-15 minutes. And AC Milan are looking pretty good in this group. Then it was Shakhtar Donetsk versus Celtics. Shakhtar won their first game against Leipzig, and it was a pretty big surprise to all the fans of the world that 10 players, when the Uefa allowed Shakhtar's 10 players to leave the club just because the war going on in Ukraine, they made somehow a match out of Leipzig, and they won it. And it was thought that they are going to run away with a victory against Celtic, and Celtic had some other ideas. They were, I would say, pretty unlucky. They had many chances to settle this game, but they unfortunately couldn't take it. And in the end, I would say Shakhtar was lucky to get a point of this game, and it was 1-1, and Celtic is going to rue this missed opportunities which they had in this game. They should have won this game and blast this group open, but I don't think Celtic stands any chance now to qualify by any means. Then it was Rangers against Napoli. Rangers gave a good account of themselves. They held Napoli for a very, very long period of time, and I would say Napoli had 3 penalties. First, it was missed, it was retaken, it was again missed, but later on they got another penalty, and then Napoli scored, and there was no looking back for the runaway leaders in Serie A. They scored again and again, and it was 3-0 and pretty comfortable in the end. I would say the score line did not suggest Rangers' performance, but this is how the game plans out. If you get your chances, you have to score. Rangers had a red card, and they had their work cut out after 1-0. Then it was Chelsea against Salzburg. Potter's first game in charge, first Champions League game, and it was Raheem Sterling who scored the first goal, and things were looking pretty good for them at 1-0, but Salzburg had another idea, and they scored, and they only piled on the misery against the London club. Chelsea have their work cut out. They are going to dig very deep and play out of their skins to qualify from this group, and that too, it could be second, and they are going to get a very tough team in the second round if they qualify. Then it was Real Madrid, the reigning champions, against Leipzig. Leipzig held them for a very long time until Valverde scored the first goal, and it was the brilliant second from Asensio from a free kick, and his first take, just hammering to the left top corner. Then it was City against Dortmund, very exciting game, very, very exciting game. Dortmund, mind you, had the lead for majority of the time. It was 1-0, only until Stones Thunderbolt took the top left corner and surprised everybody in the stadium, not on the stadium, but everybody on television as well. They were finding it very hard to get any opening out of the game, but it was Stones, the centre back, who took a thunderbolt, and it reminded us all of Manchester City's Company's goal against Leicester City when they had their work cut out, and that was the season. Many said that it was that goal which took Manchester City to the title that season. So Stones' goal created an opening, and rest was all about Erling Haaland. How can you keep that person out of the game? Who is going to stop him this season? I don't think anybody is going to stop him. And it was Cancelo's outer foot that provided the cross, and the cross was not so good, but it was good enough for Erling Haaland. Within this blistering form, he had only 26 touches in this game, and one of them was extremely good enough, and it was his flying left foot touch that took it into the top left corner once again. And after that, there was no looking back for Manchester City. They wanted more and more and more, but by that time, Dortmund had run out of gas. Then it was Copenhagen versus Sevilla, a dull draw, 0-0. The result did not benefit any of these two sides, and Sevilla's poor start of the season continues. They have their work cut out. It would be very difficult for them to qualify from this situation. Let's see what happens in that. And then it was Juventus versus Benfica. Juventus scored first, and things looked pretty rosy for them that they are going to come back into this group. But Benfica had other ideas. They scored twice, and now Juventus is having a very, very big ask in this group, and Benfica are doing pretty well. Then it was high for the Israeli club against the mighty PSG. They scored first, mind you, they scored first, and everybody was thinking, oh, this could be the night where this upset could take place against the Lionel Messi's, the Neymar's, the Mbappe's. But these big three are just big three for some reason, and that is what they showed. It was Messi who started the comeback, he scored, and then he assisted Mbappe. His excellent form continues in the year of Champions League and World Cup. He's doing pretty okay. Argentinians would be very happy. And it was Neymar who rounded off with the third goal from an excellent Verratti long ball. And the things were settled once it was 3-1, and PSG are going by their merry ways. They are topping the group, and they look certain to qualify from this group pretty handsomely. And these are the group situations right now. Group conditions, it's Group A, led by Napoli, followed by Liverpool, Ajax and Rangers. It seems that Napoli is going to win this group, followed by Liverpool or Ajax. They are going to fight it out between each other, and Rangers is unfortunately going to finish last. Group B, it is Club de Brugge, Leverkusen, ATM and Porto. Porto's form doesn't seem that they are going to fight for the top two positions, and it is going to be between Leverkusen and Atletico de Madrid to take the second spot. So far, Club Brugge looks pretty solid, but you just cannot rule out Leverkusen and Atletico de Madrid to disposition Club de Brugge from the top two positions. Then it is Group C, the group of death, everyone's favorite. It is Bayern Munich without any surprise leading the standings, and followed by Barcelona and Inter Milan. It's pretty clear that Barcelona and Inter Milan have to sort it out between each other, that who is going to take second and third. Group D, it is Sporting Lisbon. Wow. They are having a flawless record, followed by Tottenham, Frankfurt, Marseille. I thought this group was pretty balanced, but so far Sporting Lisbon has created a gap, and it looks like they are going to go through as one of the top two, followed by Tottenham of Frankfurt. It is going to be between Tottenham and Frankfurt, the Europa League champions, to sort it out. Mind you, Frankfurt were the top seed in this group. Marseille, unfortunately, seems that they are going to finish last. Group E, the Italian champions are leading. Dinamo Zagreb were brought down to earth today, but Salzburg and Chelsea's draw has only helped their cause. But it is going to be a tough ask between Dinamo Zagreb, Salzburg and Chelsea. Probably Milan are going to top this group. Group F, the reigning champions are having their own way. They are flawless as they usually are, followed by Shakhtar, Celtic and Leipzig. Shakhtar won against Leipzig, so they have an advantage. Celtic had an excellent game against Shakhtar Donetsk, so Leipzig have every chance of qualifying. They have to perform pretty well, and they have to face Real Madrid only once, whereas Shakhtar has to face twice, so they have this advantage. So it is going to be probably between Shakhtar and Leipzig. Unfortunately, Celtic, I don't think they stand to qualify as the top two sides. Then it is Group G. The English champions had an outstanding game against Dortmund, and Copenhagen and Sevilla don't show much purpose in their games so far. So it seems that City and Dortmund are going to go through from here. Copenhagen and Sevilla's draw has only benefited Dortmund. So 4 games still to go, and this group seems to be pretty settled, at least for Manchester City. Group H, it is Paris Saint-Germain, and they are pretty strong in this group, especially when Juventus is absolutely not performing. They had a horrible game against Benfica today. They led but lost it in the end 2-1, and with 6 points each for Paris and Benfica, it seems that this group may be settled by match day 3 if Juventus doesn't get a result. So they have to face Haifa twice. So probably this is going to get them some form. If they don't get victories against Haifa in both the games, I think this group is pretty sorted. So friends, if you have liked our video, I would suggest that please press our bell icon and subscribe our page so you can get all the latest updates about the players who are performing too well in the Champions League and Premier League. We are going to get all the results and all the analysis about Champions League and Premier League for you. Have a good time.